Welcome to the Conquer Risk podcast. My name is Manish Kata, and today we have a special edition of the Season 3 finale, where we are bringing on more than just one guest here. So with me, I have Jeff Goodnow, Jennifer Burton, and Christopher Norton, which make up the majority of the gang here at Potomac. And so what we wanted to accomplish on this finale is to recap what has been an unbelievable year, not only outside of the business, but also in the world. We've all had our struggles. We've all had our success. And so we wanted to recap, each pillar of Potomac, what we did well, what we struggled with, and just kind of go back and forth and have this conversation. A lot of times when business owners talk, it comes up, what's the one thing that leads to success? And frankly, the answer is it's never one thing. It's operations, it's marketing. In our business, it's investment management. And so, everything has to be hitting. All the cylinders have to be firing. So we have all the cylinders on today. So first things first, Jennifer Burton, she's been in operations for years, and also recently with the title of Director of Advisor Experience. So she kind of runs the gamut with back office and advisor experience. So Jennifer, first and foremost, welcome. I know this is your first entrance into the podcast, so you can shake out the butterflies here in the first couple minutes.
Thanks. Took a while to get an invite.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, that's on Jeff.
Gotta earn your stripes.
Yeah, but anyway.
Well, actually, you just need to get lights and a microphone.
Great.
Strong point.
But with that being said, quite a year. What'd you do all year?
This year has been a lot. I think we're close to, if not doubled, our AUM. It's been a lot on operations. We have come up with these new systems and new ways to onboard reps, and we have been very successful at doing so. For years, we have looked at all these technology pieces and tried to find a seamless way to onboard a rep from proposal to getting the account opened. And every technology firm either promises 100% and delivers 80%, or you just get 75%. So we found a way to kind of piece these items together and offer clients a way to utilize the multi-managers, do the Docusign, which is definitely necessary in this current pandemic. And it has just attracted a lot of assets. And with that, we have had to find some additional staff. Double your AUM, you pretty much have to double your operations. And that was really a struggle, more so than I thought, given the current job market. But we got a lot of resumes that just weren't relevant to the industry and what we needed.
And so why you and I work closely on that. What was the hard part there? Is just the relevant experience?
I think so. It was the relevant experience, or just trying to find the right person that would fit our company. And our company is unique in that we're small, we're a close kind of knit culture, a different culture than people that are coming from these large corporations where there is 200 people and they're used to having these stepping stones of career options. Potomac is it's more lateral and it's different. So trying to find that right employee, it was a little bit challenging. But with that said, we have hired 2 operations associates now in the past, 10 weeks. And I have really high hopes for both of them. They've hit the ground running and they're doing an awesome job.
So I was kind of curious.
So Docusign.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, something that's a bit unique for us as well is just our remote complex, right? Of being able to work in different places. So how has that been in training, staff that's not necessarily sitting in front of you like the traditional office?
It has its challenges, but with technology now, it's not as hard as you think. And every interviewee brought that up. How will I be trained when we're a 100% remote company? Like, how is this going to work? And through Zoom and our, all of our uses of technology, it's like you can have a conversation as if you're in the same room. So it's definitely, we are a very tech forward company, and even in training, we utilize those capabilities. But it also, with the 100% remote, there's a trust factor. And so you really do need to vet those interviewees to make sure that they are going to respond to that trust.
So what was the biggest hurdle? What pissed you off the most this year when it comes to operations and the experience?
The most? There's a few.
Yeah, don't give me 5 examples.
Okay.
Fine, give me your top 2. Let's do that.
Okay, my top 2 is definitely technology. Across the board, technology, we want it to do certain things, and it just under-delivers. And then companies that, they make all these pie-in-the-sky wishes for us, and then we're left scrambling to try to figure out how to make things work. That's definitely frustrating, and we've seen it for years. It really hasn't just been this year. This year, I think, was just especially worse. But even with, for example, the Fidelity is pushing this Wealthscape opening tool, which is awesome, letting people do everything through Docusign. But then firm-specific forms are a struggle. So it's like everything gets you almost there, and we needed to try to figure out how to get our clients all the way there. And that was definitely a struggle and frustrating.
Well, there's always a wrinkle, right? And because we're multi-custodian, we're working with unaffiliated advisors, not underneath our brand. There's a lot of settings, right? Sometimes we all feel like we're drowning in settings. Like you forget one thing and you have to add it somewhere here. And so I think, Christopher, we're not going to ask him about technology, or else this podcast is going to be 45 minutes long. But listen, we've had our struggles with technology, but one of the things with being a small business is we can pivot quickly, change direction, and try to move forward. And with pivoting in mind, Jeff, you're up next, because one of the things that we talk about a lot is, your past career with a broker-dealer. You were in charge of vetting different advisory firms to come on to your platform or your broker-dealer. And then coming to Potomac, it was kind of a switch, because you were only talking about Potomac strategies. And now we've switched you again to go back and talking about a collection of different managers, right? Potomac strategies, in addition to some of the other managers that we brought on to the Union UMA. Dive into where your head's at. What went well this year, and what pissed you off?
As we do this, since it is the finale, I'm going to give a shout out to Yingling while I'm enjoying this last podcast of the season. I think it wasn't necessarily a struggle, but the biggest thing for me, looking over the last year, was a lot of this was between you and I in working on. We had this idea, right? We're going to create the Union UMA. Well, that's all nifty. But there was so much work that went on in the background. And even what sounds like a simple thing is, no matter what your product or your service is, you have to have a relatable story. Why are you doing this? Right? What is the reason behind, or I did this in an interview the other day, what is the passion that drives the action? And you have to figure out what that is. And that takes a lot of work and effort. And so that was kind of
are you jumping into a motivational speech here now with that statement?
No, I'm not ready for TED Talk. No thanks.
All right, skip that.
All right, but anyway, so that was kind of the struggle, but it's exciting once you get done. And so then, we get back to the pivot point, right? You talk about the OCIO capabilities that we offer, and that's my sweet spot. That's sort of my home sweet home. And it's exciting to be able to get back to doing the due diligence on different strategists and looking at models and what models go together, what fit well. And we got lots of podcasts on those various topics, but that's exciting stuff. I mean, it's rewarding, because when you talk to an advisor, and I had one say this to me earlier when it was our first conversation about Union UMA. He looked at me over the Zoom meeting and said, "I can't believe it's taken me 20 years to find someone who realized that you don't have to be huge to be successful, and you're keeping it simple. You're providing me models to work with that are different combinations of strategists, and a system to just do a lot of these things for me, so I can just go out and build business."
That's awesome.
All right, have the relationship.
There you go. So success-wise, you were able to start the research process, start the due diligence process, bring manager into the fold. Where was the road bump? What tripped you up?
What tripped me up? Well, sometimes it's where do you start, right? So we have to start with the basics. If I've got to get some different, I wanted to have, at least right out of the gate, a couple of different mutual fund type models, a couple of different ETF type models, some SMAs, right? You want to have strategic and tactical, and yet I didn't want to spend 3 years trying to make perfect. The reality is I wanted to find a handful, 10 or 12 really good strategists. And I think we've done that, and then we'll continue to add from here. But that was the struggle. It's just kind of where do you start? That you can get the trades and things from efficiently and those kinds of things.
Where do you draw the line as well, right? Because the more people you talk to, like, hey, what about this and what about that strategist? And so we've had to basically pace ourselves, right? Spread it out over a quarter or so and go at it like that. And so one thing you highlighted earlier that I love is, getting back to what you love, right? And so a lot of times, at Potomac in general, you have employees come in and you have a certain job. And then after 3, 6 months, 12 months, it's like, all right, well, what do you like to do? And because there's always that 20% of your job that you absolutely dislike. But if we can get to the 80, that's a success, right? And that brings me to marketing, because Christopher Norton, who's with us, Christopher's a creative person, right? And creative people sometimes don't like the analytic side of it, and we threw it all on his plate and said, here, create stuff and also tell us the analytic background and why it's working and not working. So, and then also here's 2 different products now to create marketing around. So have at it.
Right.
And so with that being said, Christopher, as we came into this year, we did a lot of things last year with the brand Potomac and what we wanted to be. And then coming into this year, we still have that, and we still do, but we also had to veer and take a little bit of a pivot to Union UMA, which, it's sort of the same thing, but it's also not. And so take us back through this year. What got you excited and what pissed you off?
This is a year that everybody would say it felt like a decade, but from a marketing perspective, it really did feel like 2 separate years. The before we launched Union and the after, because the first half of the year was building on all the things we did last year, right? In defining what Potomac was and who we wanted to be and what we were here to do. And at the same time, behind the scenes, building the brand and the content and all of everything we wanted to do to promote Union, so that when we pulled that lever in the middle of the year, it was all ready to go and we could come out of the gate with momentum. And then the second half of the year was now taking all of that, which was really a year and a half's worth of brand work and, what we call building the infrastructure of your brand to be able to tell your story, and then just hitting the gas the second half of the year and getting as much content and ideas and video and podcasts and media and things in front of people to let them know that Union was there, as was the other side of our business now with strategies. So it was an interesting year with that sort of clean division with the before and after, but it was a unique challenge for me to be able to be that hands-on with a brand before and after launch, and frankly, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Well, one of the things we talk about a lot on our calls, we'll just, spitball and say, what do you think about this strategy, or what do you think about that? And we both kind of shrug our shoulders and go, okay, well, let's test it. What things did we test? Did you test? What has you excited for 2021? Where's your head at?
Yeah, there were some things that we knew were going to be challenging along the way, and then there were some things that we didn't know were going to challenge us. We didn't know that in the third quarter of the year, our email system would just completely stop working, and they wouldn't be able to tell us why, and we were going to have to go through the process of vetting a new one and getting it set up and warming up IP addresses and testing and doing all of these things. So there were some unexpected things along the way that made it harder than we wanted it to be. But at the same time, we did a lot of other new things with doing different kinds of video ad series and doing different types of Google ads and finding different ways of getting our content in front of people that are outside the norm, a little bit outside what is expected. And not only did we find some success in there, but it opened up a new roadmap for us that has me really excited for 2021 with the way we're seeing this web start to work together. All the things that we talked about this year on the podcast and in what we wrote about marketing, from PR to video to consistency to telling it like it is, we are now in the fourth quarter of this year. We're seeing the fruits of all of that work together. Just this last week, we had a journalist see something that we did in a podcast, which opened up an opportunity for a story, which led to another content opportunity. The way these things work together has been phenomenal.
And one of the things, I think you were on a podcast with Zach McDonald from Mineral, and he quoted someone else, and I still love this quote. Like, people go to Google to search, they go to social for fun. You're not going to social for a white paper, right? So with that being said, how does that bug in your head, work its way out in 2021?
Yeah, we have a real distinct division of content that is emerging, where the funny videos and things that we do that have generated a lot of interest for Potomac and Union in particular, with that on hold video series and things like that. Those belong and should live in social media. It's just what Zach said, right? When you go to social, you're bored. If you go to search, you're busy. And that's a very distinct type of content that we produce that's very different than some of the very specific things that we'll put together for a particular platform that we're on, that we're going to make available in search, because we know that's what people are looking for there. So I think as we go into next year, you're going to see this real clear line between the type of content that we produce to be social and the type of content that we produce to answer people's questions.
Yes, and that's very different, right? And so, Jen, quickly, what do you think about marketing this year? What popped out as that was something that was cool that we did, or effective? What are your thoughts from the back office?
I think that the marketing this year has definitely gotten, I feel like anyway, so much more response than in the past. I really enjoyed that we all had a hand in our little our Instagram themes, work from home and love where you live. And I think that the marketing this year has just been more effective. We've definitely grown the brand. And it's exciting to see, because we just launched it, was it 2 or 3 years ago? And now having all these followers and people, liking us and retweeting us and things like that. It's been great to see it all kind of come together this year.
I'm just glad we have another podcast person.
Yeah, I know. Jeff, are you excited to write more blogs next year?
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'll do. Remember that happy place? That wasn't it. No, I tell you what I'm happy for. I'm happy for giggling. I am happy for the fact that the phrase 2020 hindsight has a new meaning. And that is, I'm so f***ing glad that is looking at 2020 in hindsight, right? I never thought that would be so pertinent. But after 2020, I think everybody agrees, for the most part, a big section sucked. Fortunately, we've had a lot of successes here at Potomac from a business standpoint, but the work and effort and a lot of things, a lot of folks struggled. So let's just put 2020 in hindsight for sure.
Speaking of 2020 hindsight, it's not something that we knew that we were going to be needing to prepare for, but I do think it's worth noting, a big shout out to Manish, that Potomac could not have been more set up for success for this year than we were. The way this company is built to be remote, to collaborate online, all the tools that we have put in place, everybody else was playing catch up and we were already there, and that's worth noting.
Yeah. Well, listen, from a 2020, besides the pandemic, from a business owner point of view, 2020 has been awesome because you guys can't go anywhere. So even if you wanted to take a vacation, you couldn't. And so what else do? You work. And so I really think that this has led to our success. Forget about everything you guys have said in the last 20 minutes. It simply comes down to the fact that you have nothing else to do but work. So you guys might hate on 2020, but kind of like it.
It's sad.
All right.
True.
Well, before we go any farther, I want to ask you, what was your suckage point for 2020? What was your biggest pain in the ass?
Oh, that's a good question.
Preparing for baby number 4.
Yeah, no. Besides that, from a business standpoint, I think Jen and I, since we are on these calls a lot together, the technology aspect of it, as companies get bigger and bigger, their service gets shittier and shittier, and that's not just within our business, but that's all across the world. And so that continues to be frustrating. When, I called our HR software the other day, and, it's a recording, so there's no emotion, but they're like, hey, you got a 55 to 60 minute wait. I'm like, okay, and so that one example, can be spread out to everything,
That's
and so technology is one of them.
Joke that we made in the union video where we said it was 27 minutes for the record.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you got to change that now because it's 2020.
We're going to go
it's
back and redo
minutes. That. Yeah. And then hiring. I think Jen and I share the same thing. It's like you know what you want, you put out there. Here's the thing. Before, if you have an office, you have a 20-mile radius, right? Very few people are going to drive 3 hours to go to work, right? Yeah. So that is actually helpful to limit the crowd. But in this case, it's the entire United States. So, you're putting an ad everywhere and you're getting hundreds and thousands of applicants. And
that's a really good point.
And that makes it even harder. We're all flexible. We can all now work from anywhere. But now you have to decide where you want to work, right? And so it's a blessing and a curse there. So I think those are the biggest struggles.
All right. Well, on a separate note, then I know. You've as Christopher mentioned, you've spearheaded several different things to essentially set the company up for success, and certainly we appreciate that. But what was kind of the biggest success for you? Was it creating the funds? Was it opening union? I mean, was it something else entirely? What was your happy place for 2020?
I think it's research and development across the board. When every year when you sit down. This is not the Manish Kata show or annuity payment for myself. It's what can we put back into the business to grow different silos of the business. And that's important. So research and development was huge, not only from, converting all of our programming to a new system to help with some of the money management, the investment in the funds, the investment in Union UMA, the technology we use across the board. Jennifer and Jeff, you're probably not even aware of some of the stuff Christopher's doing, and vice versa. The different things we're signing up for. These things add up. I see the bills every month, and they add up. But you have to close your eyes and just pay them because they're for a greater good. And so being able to put the research and development into place, and then also growing the team. Right, it's you're taking a chance because I am a strict believer in hiring into growth. A lot of times, if you wait till after the fact. You're playing catch up. And so, we hired Chelsea, and literally, I think 8 weeks later, we had to turn around and do it again. And so, that's I'm proud of that because as a team, we got together, we're putting the people in place, putting the training in place and working together. And that's the fun part about being in a small business, right? There's not 29 departments and lines. It's everyone is kind of helping each other out.
Well, and that's something you mentioned, right? A small company. I love the fact that we all have direct lines. So not just we obviously can speak to each other, but our advisors, our relationships call us directly. All right, and no hunt groups here. So that's
the next blog. I'm working on a blog right now because of the frustration I had recently on trying to get a hold of someone. Right, you've been through that exercise where you go to the support site
today,
and then it sends you to an FAQ. Well, I don't want to fucking search through questions, but if you can't find your question, then click here and send you back to the initial search. And it's, we pride ourselves on saying, look, go to our Connect page. You can chat with us. You can email us. You can call us directly. You can go to social, whatever you want. Don't hide it. So, that's a big push going for 2021 is, we want to double down on customer service. And we want to double down on being available, answering questions, and getting back to you. I did a podcast the other day, and I told them it's an unwritten sort of mandatory rule that if you don't get back to a client in 24 hours, you better have a really good excuse why you did it. Even if it's to say, hey, I'm going to get back in touch with you soon when I get an answer. And that's what we want to build from the top down across the company. Just be accountable to your clients.
It's pretty cool, and you really step back and think about it. I mean, from a company standpoint, a year ago, we were a company that basically had our own little line of product, advisory, models that you had to come direct to, and now we're available on, in models on InvestNet and Adhesion and right, all kinds of other locations for advisors to use, and you can come direct. And oh, by the way, we also have a Union UMA, so we have our own TAMP. I mean, think about that in a year. 1 year. That's insane.
Part of the plan. It's part
That's
of the plan,
insane.
right? It's
exciting.
You want to be everywhere, and you want to meet the demand where it is. And before it was very closed off, whereas now we want to meet advisors. We want to help advisors win on their home turf, not necessarily ours.
Absolutely. All right. So what's next, Manish?
Let's end this with some tips. Usually we do recommendations, shows, gadgets, things like that. But in this case, if an advisor is listening, and hopefully a lot of them are, I want to ask each of you, we'll start with Jen, name one thing that if you could give an advisor a helpful tip on, it could be a product, could be anything, that can help them into 2021, what would that be?
I would say hands down, it would be Docusign. We really embraced it this year because of the technology needs, because of the pandemic, and we have trained a lot of advisors' offices how to use it. And I just feel like that's where the industry is pushing. All the custodians are pushing to Docusign. And in this environment, it's safe, it's efficient, it's quick, it's effective. Any company I deal with personally, I want them to use Docusign because I hate filling out forms by hand. So definitely Docusign for me.
Absolutely. Jeff, what do you got?
Yeah, mine is along the same vein, and it's kind of the environment that we all live in now, and that is a simple tool called Soapbox. It is essentially a very efficient and inexpensive way to create a quick ad hoc video that goes into an email. So instead of being the impersonal email, right, it's an actual video of you talking directly to that prospect or client. And I think something that 2020 differentiated here was face-to-face and in-person used to be synonymous. They were the same. Now, in-person means you're physically there, but face-to-face, you can do that, whether it be pandemic, whether it be they live across the country or whatever. And Soapbox is one cheap step towards that, face-to-face. So
and I know Mr. Video Guy on the call definitely will second that notion on video. And so, Christopher, what's your one tip to advisors for 2021?
So mine would be something with all the marketing things that we've talked about. I don't think we've ever mentioned on this podcast. There is a resource out there called Sprout Social, and if you as an advisor are going to be involved in social media at all, it would be my absolute number one recommendation for marketing. The tools that it gives you to share things across platform, schedule content, reply to it in real time, and get really in-depth and valuable analytics. It is fantastic.
Hold on. Is this your sales pitch to get off the free version?
No. This is not an internal pitch. This is just my experience of vetting however many other things that we tried and tools that would do part of things and other things, and there's no silver bullet, but this is the best social tool I've ever used, hands down.
Okay, Mr. Manish, what's on your list, buddy?
Yeah, so with my recommendation here, I'll wrap this up with Teamwork software, which is what Christopher recommended we use earlier this year. Probably one of the best pieces of things that we've installed at Potomac. And it's a task-based software to keep everyone accountable of what they have planned. And in a remote company especially, there's no punch in and punch out clocks. It's about being accountable and doing the tasks you're supposed to do and making sure you're there for your teammate. And so I would recommend every advisor out there put in place. It's cheap. It's $12 a month per user. And, you can start putting these tasks in for different projects. And so that's something that I think every advisor should put together. Any closing thoughts from anyone before we wrap this up?
2020 is looking bright.
Cheers to 2020.
2021.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Oh,
Yeah.
There you go. I like that. That's a good tip.
Yeah, so we are going to push
throw that in
YouTube a
there.
lot more in 2021. And so please, if you want to connect with us and stay up, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can obviously reach us on multiple access points. I don't need to go over them. Have a great holiday, a great Christmas, a great New Year. We appreciate all of our listeners. Keep the feedback and the questions coming. It really keeps us going when we get those positive feedback as well as constructive criticism. So thank you very much from all of us, and cheers to season 3, and we are on to season 4. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.
All the best.